Welcoming everyone to another live edition
Oh,
of
Glenn,
410 Sports Talk. Yes.
get closer to your mic. Your mic might have switched.
Uh-oh. All right, let me check.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk Live. We got to make sure Glenn's got the right mic. Did it switch on you? Yeah, it just spontaneously switched. I have no idea why, so I'm glad I caught that. Because that would have drove you crazy, dude.
Yes, thank you. See, this is why I needed you that night, Jimbo, and I blame you entirely.
Well, it's nice to be needed. At the very least, it's nice to be needed.
Yes. So welcome
but
in,
welcome
everyone.
in nonetheless.
Yeah, Jimmy's on a bit of a delay here, and it's
let me fix that.
Certainly gonna conflict with our natural cadence and flow of conversation. But another live edition. Excited to be here. I see that looks like Kai just finished watching Cook's retirement speech, which, like Jimmy said when we first jumped in here, was much more emotional than I think either of us were expecting, and probably more emotional than Sam was expecting it to be, since he said all his rehearsal takes weren't nearly. The waterworks weren't there when he was rehearsing it in his house. So, yeah, I mean, that was not something you see every day from a punter. But excuse me, clearly Sam Koch meant much more to this organization than your average punter does. Isn't that right, Jimbo?
100%. Just his story in and of itself was really cool to listen to hear about, growing up in a small town, and then all the pride that he took in representing and still representing his family, his team, and all that is really awesome. But the one thing I think is really funny, Glenn, that you noted last night that certainly came to pass is they found a way to keep Sam close by. Yep. Keep him on ice, right? Get that leg out there every once in a while in practice to show him how it's done, because look, you said it. If this kid gets the yips, we need old Sam to come back in and save the day potentially, right?
No doubt. I mean, I'm not so much worried about can the guy punt. I think he can. He's shown that he can punt. I don't think he's going to get the yips from a punting standpoint, but Sam Koch was the holder for the entirety of Justin Tucker's Hall of Fame career. And so, and he never bobbled, he never dropped, nothing. Every snap, no matter if it was high, low, grounder, bouncer, left, right, up, or down, he grabbed it. And when Justin Tucker's foot was ready to strike the ball, it was there and laces were out, as anyone who's a pet detective fan remembers. That's a very important part of the job as well. So that's the bigger concern. Can he integrate himself fine with the operation that's already in place with Justin Tucker? And are there any issues with that operation when you remove such a key cog to it in Sam Koch?
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see. And one of the things I thought was interesting in his little tribute video was that, he gave a shout out to the Wolfpack. He didn't add Nick Moore in the Wolfpack.
Yeah, that is little, that's surprising. He only spent 1 year in the pack, but still, you got to give him some, a little love.
He was very specific. Morgan Cox, Justin Tucker, and obviously himself. So I think you're right, Glenn. I think it's time to retire the Wolfpack, right?
Yeah, we got to come up with a new name.
Yeah, it's got to be, I don't know. Somebody in our comments said that a flock of birds is called a murder.
Remember, I couldn't think of the name. That's actually, so maybe we'll call it the murder. It doesn't have the ring as Wolfpack. No. It doesn't have the ring. No, especially in Baltimore, it's a little too real. It hits a little too close to home.
Yeah. No, I still like it though. We'll call. You know what? This is what we'll do. We're gonna do it and see if we can bring it to fruition.
Murder Squad. There you go, Kai. Murder Squad.
Yeah, Murder Squad. That's what we're gonna call it, because a murder of birds, right? Like, get it. You guys put it out into social media until Justin Tucker retweets it. If one of you guys get Justin Tucker to retweet this, we'll give you $100.
Oh, dang.
We'll give you $100 if you get Justin Tucker to retweet the new name of the pack being
Murder Squad.
Murder Squad.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty damn good incentive. I might start working on that, Jimbo, honestly.
Hey, do it.
Times are tough, man. That grocery bill is no joke.
No, it is not.
But yeah, excited to, happy to have him still in the building, because I think that, when the coaches were talking about him, talked about him as a contemporary, as like as a peer and not a player. So I think there's no doubt that he can bring something to the room. They talked about how, John Harbaugh mentioned that he changed the game. Like he said, when Koch was entering the league, everyone just kicked it left, right, or, straight, but they didn't have variations of kicks where when Cook got in, kind of in the lab there, they came up with alternate ways to kick the ball, the rugby style kicks, all these different ways. He said he had multiple different terms. The what do they call it? The Cook curve, or what do they call it?
Something like that. Wait, DK knows what it is.
Yeah, he's saying it as if I can hear him. I see him mouthing it
He's
in
like,
the background. But yeah, he came up, and apparently that is there it is, the Cook hook. Yeah, how did I not? Jeez. Thank you, DK. Yeah, the Cook hook, which apparently is pretty much used all around now, both at this level and at the college level. So he didn't just come in, and he wasn't just a great kicker, wasn't just a great guy in the locker room and in the community. He was revolutionary, which any player, no matter the position, if you're revolutionary, if you change the game, then that's next level. And I think that he deserves all the accolades, all the praise, and the great send-off that he got.
Yeah, absolutely. Not that there's a comparison, but like in his era, obviously LeBron James is the face of this era, but I think there's a solid argument to say that Steph Curry has changed the game.
100%.
More because kids do different things differently
that
today.
That three-pointer, bro.
Yeah.
Woo, he changed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, shout out to Sam Koch on an excellent career here in Baltimore. One of the things we thought was really cool, even one Mike Tomlin gave his props to Sam Koch. So shout out to Mike Tomlin, of course, a class act himself. But you've done it right if Mike Tomlin is tweeting about you. I guess.
And you're a punter.
Yeah, exactly. As a punter. Wow, look at that, Mr. Rob.
Oh,
Rob Beebe says that he's Hall of Fame. Or is that a question?
I think he's saying he thinks he's Hall of Fame. Now, I'd
how many punters are in the Hall? Do we know?
I think there's one, and I think he was both punter and kicker, if I remember correctly.
Did he have like half a foot and kick in the 30s or something?
Yep. Yeah, 100% right. I saw the boot at the Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, they have the shoe on display, and it is half a foot. It is a club, basically. Shout out to Balti Raven. If you throw a comment out there, we'll talk to you. But if you're just feeling generous, we certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, and you go up on the wall, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, true. Absolutely. Now, I will say, I think he deserves a spot on the Ring of Honor, right? I mean, I think that's something he's earned, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that is a no-brainer for the Baltimore Ravens as an organization. But I also, if you are as revolutionary as a lot of people you think,
great guy, there it is.
Yeah, if you are as revolutionary as a lot of people think, or as at least local people think you are as a punter, and maybe around the league, if you get enough momentum, who knows? Yeah. Who knows? The problem will always come down to with him getting in someone at a different skill position, is not.
Yeah, it's hard to argue when you see the stats. It's like how do you put a punter in over a guy who has however many catches, however many touchdowns? It's kind of hard.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting, but nonetheless, the Ring of Honor is certainly within Sam's reach, and I am sure that it will be a no-brainer. So, and it's just a foregone conclusion, a formality at this point. All right, Glenn. So we've talked about Sam. Let's move on.
That does. Let's talk about what that does, and it kind of goes into what our next topic is. It does provide some cap relief, right? I mean, if he retires, unless I'm mistaken, does he not? Do the Ravens not receive relief from his salary that he was expected to get? Is that it? Am I off base there, Jimbo?
No, I don't understand it any differently. So yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to find where that is, but I don't see it.
What his salary cap number is?
Yeah, I'm just curious because I remember we talked about this and I just had blanked on the total, but I do remember that they were set to get some cap relief and have some more space if they, if he did retire. So yeah, and which kind of brings us into our other, because he's not the only guy that they were able to create some space with, and the other one being tight end Nick Boyle, who restructured.
So it's sorry, Glenn. It looks like it says it's $1 million in. So all it says is a blank for base salary, a $1 million signing bonus, a blank for workout bonus, the same exact amount signing bonus, and dead cap hit is the same. So yearly cash, it's a net negative, it looks like. Now, I don't know if that is the case because it's not a cut, it's a retirement. So it's a voluntary, like he's giving up those funds. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like he's being forced out of those. So some people are saying 2.7 in cap savings, 2 million in cap savings. Hey, I'll take it. I don't see that on Spotrac, but either way, if it's $1 million to 2.7, it's definitely something. The Ravens seem every bit of it at this point. And if you see something different, let me know.
Bob Pierney isn't too often wrong when it comes to numbers. So
that's true.
I'll take his word and say that it's 2.7 in cap savings. And then they went on to create even more space by reaching out to Nick Boyle, and he restructured his deal. He reduced his base salary this upcoming season from $5 million down to $1.12 million, but then turned some of that into a signing bonus, $2.63 million into a signing bonus, and then an additional $1.25 million is available in incentives. So but just to kind of encapsulate all that, they create an additional $2.56 million by restructuring the contract of Nick Boyle, who had one catch last year, Jimbo. So I think that
still making plenty of money for his production.
Exactly. So I think that him doing this was certainly a solid for the Ravens, but also he got some upfront money with that $2.6 million in signing bonus that I'm sure was nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the Ravens could have easily come to him and said, maybe we're just going to terminate this relationship, and you can go elsewhere or something like that, right? Like, we don't know what the terms of the conversation were, but it seems like, not very many players do solids just to do solids, right? Like outside of Tom Brady. Certainly, obviously, getting some money up front helped. I'm sure he bought his wife a nice purse or something, shoes or something like that, right? Got some money earlier than he expected. So nobody's against that. But
shout out to Chris Lowry in the comments. Appreciate you popping up. He said who's going to be their emergency backup fourth string quarterback now, because Sam Koch was. But let's just hope that they never have to answer that question and that we never get to that point, because I don't think it matters who the hell is going to go in there, because it's probably not going to be a pretty sight.
Right.
But the question is, what are they creating space for? Is this
right? That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, is this just something to keep kind of a nest egg in case there's injuries? Here we go. Field Yates, there we go. Pretty much what I just went over with you guys is the tweet here. But why? Like, are they creating space to add to what position, or is this just a nest egg? Is more of a what if scenario?
Right. Well, Glenn, conspicuous timing, right?
Okay.
Because really the question comes down to the timing. One of them is that it's coming up on June 1st.
Yes, sir.
And we know what happens in June 1st, ladies and gentlemen. Post June 1st cuts are a real thing. And we want to make sure we give you the understanding behind this. So I just want to make sure I put it in plain terms. So for those of you who don't know, a lot of you probably already do, but teams can take a less dead cap money in their current year if they cut the player after June 1st. So basically, if a player is cut or traded before June 1st, all the remaining prorated salary or bonus money that's left on his contract accelerates into the current year. After June 1st, that counts. They break it out into 2 years. So basically you split the dead money in half.
Okay.
So it becomes more of an incentive if the guy's got heavy dead money to cut him post June 1st. So with that being said, there's going to be some axing happening here in a little over a week. And so the Ravens, I think, want to be ready. Don't you think? And I certainly think the Ravens are going to be ready. And I don't think the Ravens are done either. I think the Ravens are obviously with Nick Boyle, with Sam Koch. There's a few other moves that they can make to prepare for any potential moves that they could make, that they could want to make when bringing people in. And one of them outside of those two is Jawan James as a post June 1st cut.
Yep.
So Glenn, you had some numbers up. Do you have some numbers on what it would look like if we let go of Jawan James?
Yeah, and sorry that I got booted out for a second, but I'm back.
Okay.
But if Jawan James is cut after that June 1 date, they will save $3 million against the cap and only incur $250,000 in dead cap. So essentially,
and that would be broken up into 2 years.
Exactly.
If you're talking post June 1st.
So it would be, and when you look at it, they bring in Morgan Moses, who virtually never misses games. Let me knock on some wood over his whole career. And then they draft Daniel Faalele, who is the presumed replacement when Morgan Moses either moves on, retires, or whatever the case. Daniel Faalele is being groomed as his backup currently and his replacement eventually. So with Juwan James being strictly a right tackle, unless he's been making some sort of position flip that is unforeseen during his absence from football, which has been massive, by the way. He hasn't played a meaningful down or snap in football in years. Unless he's making some offseason behind closed doors switch to left tackle, which nobody expects, then he's a bit of a luxury and a redundancy at right tackle with the guys that are already on the roster. And when you can consider they could save $2.75 million, which may not seem like a ton, that is a lot when you consider, the players they'd likely be using that money on are guys that aren't the highest paid guys. This is an emergency fund, basically, is what they could use that money for in-season injuries and replacements.
Right, absolutely. So I think that really, to me, the Juwan James thing comes down to this, Glenn, and we kind of talked about this off air. There's got to be a better contingency plan for Ronnie Stanley. Eric DeCosta openly talked about that. So if they don't think, so right now, in a lot of people's minds, the contingency plan is if Ronnie can't go, it's Patrick McCary at left, right? Because Faalele is so new to football and he's only played right. Morgan Moses has maybe played left in a emergency situation. And as far as I know, Juwan James has not played left. So unless Juwan James can show them that he can be part of that contingency plan and be better than McCary at left, I don't know at this point what the incentive is to keep him, because I don't know where else he's going to go. It's not like, Coach talked about switching Eric talked about switching a tackle into center, right? Like, that's not going to happen. We got the best evaluated center coming out of the draft ever in a lot of people's minds. So I don't know where he fits.
100%. I mean, I think that's very well said, Jimbo. If he can't find a way to create positional versatility within his own game, I don't see the value of keeping a guy for $2.75 million as a third string right tackle. I don't see it. And so unless Faalele in OTAs and the early part of camp shows that he is not ready and he needs a full year of sitting behind a starter in order to craft his game, maybe get his body into a different shape. Unless that's the case, unless they have no faith that Daniel Faalele can play this season at any point, then I think you move on from Juwan James and you look for a guy who could be, like you said, more of a contingency plan at left tackle. Because as much as we love McCarry, like we love Patrick McCarry here because of the fact that he's literally, how many players in the whole league can legitimately say they could go at any position on the line and it wouldn't be they wouldn't be below average. I think he's at least average in every spot. And I think above that, maybe slightly below average at left tackle, but I think he's serviceable. So we love him, but we don't want him penciled in at left all the time because then that takes his ability away from being that Swiss Army knife. So I think they have to address it somehow, some way. The problem is, Jimbo, if anyone has a left tackle, if he's starter quality, they damn sure ain't getting rid of him. If he's backup quality, they probably don't want to get rid of him either because everyone is needy at tackle.
Right. 100%. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there, but I do think it's a foregone conclusion if he can't prove that he's part of the contingency. Now, the other piece I want to talk about. He's not the only
guy, by the way, Jimbo, that they could
That's what I wanted to say. I wanted you to bring up because there's another name that, as we were kind of combing through post June 1st cuts, there's another name that came up on the offensive line. So I kind of want you to talk about that as well.
Yeah, Ben Powers certainly has had his fair share and opportunity at the guard position to show what he's got, and at times he showed that he could do it. Certainly from a run blocking standpoint, but who can't run block as a guard in this offense? And as pass blocker, he's certainly shown that he needs to improve. So if they cut him post June 1, they would save $2.54 million. And they would only incur $174,000 in dead space. So basically, they would create nearly $2.4 million in additional cap space if they decide to move on from Ben Powers. So that's a very real possibility as well. When you look at the fact that now Tyree Phillips, with Daniel Faalele being in town, can move back to the position which I think most people predicted he would play at this level, and that's the guard spot. And then they already have Big Ben Cleveland. They got, they got options. Zeitler ain't going anywhere.
Did I hear you correctly? You said Tyree Phillips, right?
Yep. Tyree Phillips, Ben Cleveland. So they got guys that they could put in there. And so if they don't feel there's value keeping Ben Cleveland I mean, I'm sorry,
Powers,
Ben
yeah.
Powers, then they could move on if they needed to keep the space. Now, he's got experience in this offense. He's been in it for years. So they might say, you know what? We at least know what we got in this guy. And if we needed to, we feel like we could win with him. So they might not cut him. But if in emergency, that's $2.4 million, Jimbo.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, if the right move is on the table, that's what it really comes down to, right? So I also want to talk into any other cuts we see around the league that could be a good fit. But I think let's get to this question. Our buddy Ravens O's Nation says, sorry, a little bit off topic. No problem at all. That's what this open forum is about. Ask away, man. Sorry, a little bit off topic, but did you guys see that Nick Wright had the best record in the AFC? So I guess really, I didn't see this specifically. I did see some pundits picking us to be the division winners. So yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, everyone is holding their breath about the Ravens. I think us included, because we need to see the recovery. We need to see guys back on the field and things like that. And it's going to take a lot of time because we're not going to see them out there in practice and in, taking on real hits we're not going to see Gus and JK and Marcus. And maybe, I guess we'll see Marlon out there, but and the list goes on and on. We're not going to see a lot of these guys until it's live bullets, in my opinion.
I wonder if we'll even see Lamar in the preseason. I think that's still a little bit undecided. But yeah, I mean, as far as what Nick Wright said, absolutely, I agree with him. I think when Lamar Jackson was at quarterback, with all the other injuries, they had just what Nick Wright is predicting. They had the best record in the AFC. They were the number one seed, and they had their quarterback in the argument for MVP. So 100% agree. If they stay healthy, they got the roster to do it. They got the coaching staff to do it, and they got Lamar Jackson under center. So I think that as long as if they avoid that injury bug, and I don't see why they're not competing for it. People are sleeping on the Ravens. I think it's a huge mistake. I don't get why they're sleeping on them. I mean, again, they were the number one seed in the AFC before that final, kind of straw broke the camel's back with Lamar getting injured. And so I don't even think this is going out on a huge limb. I mean, I guess I can see why people perceive it that way with the strength of the AFC from top to bottom really increasing with these quarterback ads. But no, I think Nick Wright is 100% on target there, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. You with me, Jimbo?
Yeah, okay. I agree. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, and I agree. Obviously we're homers and well, we love the Ravens. I don't know if we're complete homers.
A little bit.
We try and be as objective as we can, right?
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, I tend to agree there, and it just all comes down to health. The pieces are there, and that's the really exciting part. From the top down, the pieces are there. And it's funny, even the analogy with the straw on the camel's back, it almost doesn't work in that scenario, because wouldn't you think that like Lamar, if it would have just been Lamar that went down and everyone else was healthy, that would have been almost more detrimental than the other way around now that we saw the outcome until Lamar went down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy. His impact is just so ridiculous is my point. But I want to talk about last year gave me PTSD. I totally understand. And I think every single play at the end of the play, if anyone struggles to get up, I'm gonna, it's gonna be one of those. But let's talk about this, Glenn. Are there any guys out there that could be moves that the Ravens could make, whether that's post June 1st cuts or existing free agents? I saw some names in the chat. But are there any names out there that you think now, actually, before I throw it to you, let's talk about the name in the chat. We talked about this yesterday with the wide receiver video, but Julio Jones seems to be someone that people are thinking the Ravens are going to make room for. We kind of talked about this yesterday, but I don't know if Julio Jones is the guy for the job, because availability and like what he has left in the tank, I don't know the answer to either of those questions. When he's here, when he is available, he didn't really show out last year, right? Like, he didn't play well. He wasn't Julio Jones by any stretch of the imagination, and he's hurt a lot. Like, it just that hamstring is a perpetual hamstring. Yeah. So I don't know if Julio is the one. Like, where are you at with Julio? Has anything changed in 24 hours?
No, I mean, it's kind of still the same with Julio. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, we're adding Julio. Like, I wouldn't be disappointed if they added Julio. I just, I don't know what he's got left in the tank. And I think a lot of it is the injuries. I don't think that he's all of a sudden a trash player and doesn't know how to catch the ball, but he had 31 catches last year for just over 400 yards, and it wasn't a whole lot better the year before in Atlanta. So I just don't think he's got a ton left in the tank. He's played a lot of football in his life. He's 33 years old. He'll be 34, by the time the season ends. So he's not getting any younger. And the question really remains is, what does a guy like that, who's used to making such massive amounts of money, what's he willing to accept from a team that's tight against the cap? And he's a declining player who's certainly at the very end of his career. I think that he'd be a nice add from the sense that he could bring a lot of wisdom to the room, a lot of experience to the room. He'd be another coach on the field. But outside of that, as far as what he could actually produce on the field and give the Ravens, I don't know what he could. Even if healthy, I think it's hard to expect much more than what he kind of did last year in Tennessee, which, again, he had 30 catches. So I wouldn't be like disappointed, but I also wouldn't be necessarily jumping out of my seat about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Now, there is one name that is a free agent. I know we're going to talk about like speculation of trades and stuff like that, but from a free agent standpoint, there's another name out there that's been connected to the Ravens that I want even less than Julio. I don't want T.Y. Hilton in Baltimore.
No,
I don't want T.Y. I don't want him. He's just because there's redundancy, right? Like he's not a big body guy, right? Like he's an old Marquise Brown. He's just Marquise Brown, just old. Like, I don't know if that's a perfect 1-for-1 fit, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And he's always hurt too. So it's like, I don't want T.Y. at all.
Yeah. Plus he turned us down. Right. So
yes, I mean,
you get, lay in that bed you made. Shout out to Zach saying you're trying to grow in that mustache like your boy over here, which is hilarious because I'm just lazy and don't shave.
Yeah, that's exactly what mine is. This is only 2 days.
I should get rid of it.
I just shaved 2 days ago.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm just lazy.
Mr. Lumberjack over here. This is 2 days growth.
No,
he thinks he's better
no.
than
What
me.
I'm saying is that what I'm saying is that this over here is not good. But for some reason, my mustache game is ridiculous.
It's
like,
strong.
Dude, my mustache gets full. Yes,
flavor saver. Yeah. So as far as Ty, 100% on board. Now, what are you thinking? Has your opinion at all changed about the possibility of Debo? Now, it looks like Debo has started to add Niner stuff back to his Instagram. So it looks like their relationship is mending. And that front office and coaching staff has said from the start, we are not getting rid of Debo Samuel. But because the chat brought him up, what's your thoughts on Debo?
I just always struggle with giving up assets and then making the guy the highest paid at his position. Both of those things. That's just brutal. That's why I don't see a trade for Debo or DK. Because DK's agent is the same as AJ, and it's the same, like you mentioned, same as Marquise. So DK is going to want at least what AJ got. And we're going to have to give up a pick, I'm sure a first and fourth or something, just to get him.
Yeah.
So, and he's also said, I mean, he's playing this a bit differently than the other two. He doesn't want out of Seattle. He said that publicly.
Who's this?
Like, he's playing that differently. DK
Oh,
Metcalf.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, no.
He's playing it differently than AJ, and while his name is in the news, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, Sherry.
Sherry,
Sherry,
thank you so much.
Sherry, once again, showing incredible generosity for, I think.
When I grow up, Sherry, I want to be like you.
I think this is the third time she's shown this type of generosity. She says,
right.
I would love a wideout as completely committed to winning as LJ. No doubt about it. I want every player with that type of commitment because, I mean, there's no doubt Lamar Jackson has it. And so I agree. I think that giving up the picks that it would take to get Debo, the money it would take to get Debo once he's here, and the fact that he doesn't want to even do what makes him so valuable, and that's that dual running and catching role. I don't see the value in getting him other than, I mean, I love the yak ability. I love all that stuff. That's really cool. But as far as, bringing another wideout, I think the guy would fit us perfectly for what we need is a guy like Will Fuller. But the problem is he's hurt every daggone year without question. So he's always banged up. But when he's healthy, Jimbo, he is one of the very best deep ball threats in all of football. So I would absolutely love to see this guy here, but I don't know how many games, if we brought him in, he'd be here for, because he hasn't played the most games he's ever played in is his rookie year. He played in 14 games. But other than that, he played twice. He played 11 games. Then he played 10, and then 7, and then only 2 last season. He's always hurt, but the guy, his yards per catch is, it's right up there with the best ones in the league. So what's your thoughts on kicking the he's only 27. He's not like an old man, but his body is just always banged up.
Yeah, I like it. I like it if at the right price. From a fit standpoint, I agree with you. He's what we need as far as fit. Now, you just got to make the finances work. And I also think the Ravens have the highest likelihood of making the finances work with a one Will Fuller, right? In comparison to the other guys. Somebody told me not to sing. Should I sing, Glenn?
Let me
Do
hear
I need
it.
to sing?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I was about
Hit
to,
it, dude. I saw you about to do it. Let's see it. Let's see
I
it.
work with someone named Sherry, so I do that song all the time. I'm like, Sherry, Sherry, baby, Sherry.
Sherry, baby. Sherry.
Nice.
Yeah. All right,
Oh,
Sherry.
my
Shout
goodness.
out.
Yeah,
I'm Cherry
shout
Red
out.
now. Nice.
Yeah, that was bad. For both of us,
But
by the way.
I forgot what we were talking about. The
Will
shout out
Fuller
to
and the
Sherry.
deep ball threat. He's the guy who's averaged, his last season with Houston, he averaged 16.6 yards per catch, which is, that's what you want. I've seen this guy run down a ball. That's what the Ravens are really missing, I think, is that deep ball vertical threat. So, yeah, I'd like it, but how many games are we getting? 10 to 12, maybe?
And we already complained about Sammy Watkins last year.
Yeah.
Imagine Will Fuller, right?
And he's probably going to be more expensive.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. See how long he sits out on the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting. But let's talk about, are there any potential June 1st cuts that you see as good candidates for the Baltimore Ravens? Maybe outside of receiver. Outside of the receiver position. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are some guys at corner that the Ravens might be interested in. Any names out there that come to mind with you?
Yeah, they could bring back a familiar face, a guy who wasn't necessarily at his best when he was here in Baltimore. I guess that's kind of a fair way to say it, but he certainly played well when he got to Carolina. Rashawn Melvin is a cornerback who was here. He spent some time here. But they brought in J.C. Horn. The Carolina Panthers did. They brought in Keith Taylor, Troy Pride. They've drafted a bunch of corners. And so I think that he's a guy who could be just a plug-and-play guy that would help in the early part of the season. He's older. He's 33 years old, so he's getting older. But this is just a guy they would bring in for the vet minimum to help provide some depth, at least in the initial part of the season when they're still waiting on Marlon and Marcus to come back to help. Excuse me.
Yeah, just another one of those where it's kind of a depth move, right?
Yeah, most of these guys aren't. What about Eli Apple, Jimbo? Do you want?
Bleh,
you don't.
No.
You don't want, because of the.
I don't want burnt toast Eli Apple.
Well, look, he ran his mouth but he did back it up on occasion last year. Certainly had some times where he jumped out there.
Yeah, how was the Super Bowl?
Well, that Cooper Kupp embarrassed him. Let's call it what it was.
Yeah, and not just once in that drive.
Oh no, it was a steady diet. But he wouldn't be asked.
Matthew Stafford knew exactly where he was going. He's like, all right, play time is over. Eli Apple's terrible. Cooper Kupp is going to take him to school. Let's just get it done.
Yeah, I just wonder if Eli Apple's one of those players that you hate him when he's on the other team, but if he's on your team, you don't hate him so much.
Yeah, well, he doesn't seem like a Raven to me.
Okay, I can clearly see that Jimbo wants absolutely nothing to do with Eli.
Yeah.
DK, how dare you? How dare you, DK?
Why would you even speak that into existence? Well, Marquise Brown is gone. If you notice that since Marquise is gone, I don't hear Antonio talking about the Ravens anymore.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed a long, long time ago. I can't even believe you put that up there just to stir something up. That's all that was, just a trouble start is what that
Now,
was.
what about, are there some slot corners that you could see, isn't like Buster Skrine is an older guy, but isn't he a slot guy for the most part?
Who's this? Who you talking about?
Buster Skrine out of the Tennessee Titans guy. He's an older guy.
Yeah,
but
he's older. I think it's Screen, by the way. Buster Screen.
Screen. Am I not mistaken? Isn't he a slot guy?
I believe he's a slot guy. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I don't have anything in front of me. Yeah, I think he's a slot guy.
I'm just saying that could be that could be another name. That could be a position, I guess is a better way for me to put it. That could be a position where the Ravens could delve into the post June 1st cut and make a substantial move for a guy that will spend some significant time on the field. Just something to think about. If they're going to do it, I think that's where they would pull the trigger if it's not wide receiver.
Oh, I think corner is a big one. Pass rush. I think there's some pass rushers out there too. There's let's see, the guy from the Lions. What's his name? Geez, I'm blank. Oh, there it is. Austin Bryant is a guy who is looking, who may be getting cut from the Lions after they just drafted Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Pascal, both two very highly touted pass rushers. I think that he was a 2019 fourth round pick. Austin Bryant was. He had, let's see, he had 4.5 sacks last year, and they could save some money by cutting him. So I think that's an option that they could go for as pass rush goes. I think corner, there's another one, Michael Ojemudia, I believe is how you say it. He's a former, let's see, 2019, I think it was, pick. They could look to move on from him, who could certainly help at the cornerback position. Jimmy Moreland's a guy who could get cut by the Texans. That's very possible. They added Stingley, they added Steven Nelson, they added a bunch of corners. Desmond King they signed. So I don't think that put it this way, there's a lot. I mean, there's a bunch. Ben Banagu from the Indianapolis Colts could get cut.
Yeah, there's a lot of corners. Certainly, it seems to be. You're talking about post June 1st cuts. It seems to be a lot of corners as candidates for this to happen for sure. So the Ravens might have their pick of the guys that are there if they like one of them. But they are creating some flexibility, Glenn.
No doubt about it.
It'll be interesting to see what it's all about.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they're
now. I have another speculative idea.
Okay.
Actually, this is speculative. I don't think it would really matter this season. So maybe they're not connected. But DK just stirred the pot, so I'm going to take it a step further. Okay.
Oh, here we go. This is all your fault. Where'd DK go? Did he leave?
Yeah, he stirred the pot and left.
Man,
I know. Freaking DK. Thanks, bro. Thanks, DK.
You see that?
Appreciate you, dude. But this is what I gotta ask, Glenn. Is there any way? Look, mini camp is coming up. What, the 24th?
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Lamar is gonna be in town.
We hope.
Is there any way that Eric and Lamar sit down and hash something out?
No.
No way.
Zero.
No way.
Zero.
You can't put it at 0 now.
I put it at 0.
Wow.
Because if there was any, he's not even entertaining offers from the Ravens right now. He has zero interest in doing it. Now, look, I would be thrilled if he did. If we find,
what if it's 2 years, $250 million, all guaranteed? You still thrilled?
I don't think that's actually possible to fit that under the cap. But no, I mean, I would be thrilled no matter, what the agreement is, because I know the Ravens wouldn't do anything ridiculously silly. So I would be thrilled to see them sign, but I don't get why he would play. I don't know why he would put them all and not negotiate and then end that now. Like, I think that this definitely goes into next season. I don't think we see a deal this offseason, this season.
But maybe the Ravens blink. That's the point, right? Like, if the Ravens blink.
But I don't think there's been a counter. I think that they came with an offer and Lamar turned it down. I don't think there's been a counter.
That's what I mean. Not a counter from Lamar's camp, but what if his thing is hold off, but then they're like, no. They press it. I just don't think they've pressed the issue. What if they come to him and they blink and say, here, fine. This is our real offer, Lamar. right? Like, I'm just saying there's a chance. The Ravens got to be a bit antsy, I think. Like, you want to get this thing done, dude. You want to get it done, get your quarterback, because it affects every part of drafting, of free agency recruiting, of building your team, of coaching. Everything is affected by Lamar Jackson's decision, period.
Yeah.
So what if they get antsy and they're like, look, dude, we saw what Deshaun Watson did. We'll give you that in a little bump. Like, just sign on the dotted line. Like, come on. At some point, Lamar can't, like, swallow that and get up and walk out of that room. Nah.
Yeah, that's the
what I mean?
question. Will the Ravens put an offer on the table that he just cannot refuse?
Right.
But I don't think that they will, because I don't think he's interested in even hearing an offer. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think.
Did you see Eric DeCosta was wearing Lamar Jackson's apparel today? Did you see that?
He?
Not, maybe it wasn't today, but it was in the tribute video to Sam Koch. So whenever they filmed that came out today, he's wearing the Wild Dogs hoodie.
Okay. All right. I like it. Look, they're trying to say,
some subliminal messaging.
Yeah, we love you, Lamar. Just don't forget us. We love you. We're big fans, and we want you to stay here in Baltimore. Yeah, I think that they want him here. I think he wants to stay here, but I don't think he's negotiating until next offseason. But I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot more until then. Let me ask you this, because I saw brought up in the, it's a name we haven't brought up. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't bring it up yesterday when we did our speculation video about what the presser could be about. Jimmy Smith's still out there, still hasn't.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, still. And actually, shout out to Christopher Shook, who kind of spurred my and refreshed my memory.
Oh, okay, nice.
That he was out there. What are your thoughts on what Jimmy might bring? I mean, if he decides to say, you know what, guys, I do want to give it another go. He's already made it clear if he does play again, it's only going to be for the Ravens or nobody at all. Would you welcome him back with open arms at this point?
Yeah, I'd rather have Jimmy than a lot of those guys on the list. I mean, period. Because at the end of the day, you're rolling the dice with all of them, right? They're all going to be there for a reason. And so for me, might as well roll the dice with a guy and a guy who's probably more physically gifted than all the guys on that list anyway.
He's old. Gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I think none of them are perfect. Like, yeah, maybe a guy's always available. He's just not good. You know what I mean? Like, he's always available to get beat. Whoop-de-doo,
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, dude, I'm there every snap getting whooped. Like, great. We appreciate it. Glad you're healthy. On to the next. So, like, for me, yeah, I would prefer it to be Jimmy than another. If we got to give somebody money and we need some help there, I think Jimmy should be first in line. Unless there's a name that's like that we weren't projecting to be there, that is a solid starter that wants to come play for the Ravens. Like, you know what I mean? Unless the perfect dream scenario comes into place, which I don't see happening. Yeah.
And I tend to agree with you. I think they would like to have him back. I think he's a guy who, he's part of the old guard. He's been here since 2011. He's one of the few remaining he's not even on the team right now, but he's one of the few guys that could still be from that Super Bowl winning squad. But he hasn't played a full season, Jimbo, since 2015, and he's only played 2 full seasons in his career, and that was 2013 and, of course, 2015. Last year, he played in just 10 games. He started 2. He played in 11 the year before, 9 the year before that, then 12 in the 2 years before that. So I guess if you're okay with him maybe getting to double-digit games, I guess I'd say I'd be okay with it. But I'd be hopeful that those, some of those games were at the end of the season when it mattered most and not just in the beginning of the season. Of course, a win is a win no matter when you get it, whether it's week 2 or week 12, it's a win. It counts just the same. But I'd like to see him available in the playoffs because I expect the Ravens to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But I think I'd rather if it comes down to rolling the dice, roll the dice with a guy I don't know.
True.
That's my opinion.
Who knows the defense? Rashawn.
Let's see. You
did it.
Yeah.
You accomplished it.
You're up on the wall. That's all you had to do, my man.
That's it. Shout out to Rashawn.
Thank you. That's right.
Joining the many on the wall. So let's see. It says, yeah. So, I mean, it seems like the fans really want to see Jimmy Smith back. I didn't notice this. Somebody already took 22. Somebody's wearing number 22 for one of the rookies. Apparently, is wearing 22.
Well, if Jimmy comes back, that changes.
Yeah, but do they just snatch the number, or do they have to do one of these payment things where you donate?
Oh, Jimmy's just taking the number.
Jimmy's just stripping it right off his back. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, come on, like Jimmy's just taking bro. Like, really?
Wait, look, you could be like, who was it? Jalen Ramsey, when he came in the league, he said, "I ain't carrying no veterans pads. That vet probably gonna get cut. I'm here. Y'all were the number one pick because all these vets are trash." He said, "I ain't carrying no pads. I ain't giving up my number. I'm here to help y'all. Y'all needed me. It ain't the other way around." So, but I don't think.
And my favorite corner, yeah.
Yeah, you love. I'll tell you what, all you can talk about is how much you love Jalen Ramsey. I mean, it really gets old off the mics here. No, he hates that man with a passion. What about Patrick Peterson? He's an old vet who's been around the league a whole time.
So that's a confusing one for me. I don't know why he was on the list for prospective cuts because he just signed the 1-year deal with them, and now what? They're just going to rethink it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he just told him he was staying. You see what I'm saying? Like that was a confusing one for me. I would love to have him here. He's available and he's a good player, but he already expressed he was a free agent. He said he's staying. So I doubt that they would renege on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that could be the case. He's just a name I see floating about here as a possibility, but
no, for sure.
But let me announce something before, and we can come back. We can come back to it. But I do just want to remind everyone.
You got an announcement?
No. I just want to remind everyone that next week is the start of OTAs. So Tuesday, I believe Tuesday, and I know Wednesday's open to the media. So we'll be getting reports from those fortunate enough to be there. We still have yet to get our media pass, but we'll certainly continue to try and do so. But we'll be looking and certainly reporting what they're saying from training camp, because that's an exciting time. It's a big time.
We got our sources, guys.
Oh yeah, we got the digits on virtually everyone of importance in Baltimore media. So shout out to Jimmy for that, by the way. Who nobody pulls digits like Jimbo Slimbo.
It's a part of the package, Glenn. It's part of the value add.
That's it. My man will go right up to anybody and be like, all of a sudden they're pulling their phone out and they're exchanging numbers. I say, how does he do it every time? Too bad you're married, because that's a skill that I think would really help you in other areas as well.
Well, how you think I closed it down in 4 months, dude?
My man takes no time. Balti Raven says, if Bateman has faith in his receivers, that's good enough for me. Big trust. Yeah, I mean, I think you're supposed to say that, because, I mean, what else does he – I mean, he could have just stayed quiet, I guess, rather than clapping back a little bit. He could have just stayed silent and not addressed it. So I guess you kind of give him credit there. But if he was directly asked the question, I don't think he has a choice but to show confidence in his team, even if that's not necessarily the way he feels, behind closed doors. But yeah, he's the one that's seen him. I think that I'm glad
and he's the one that's got the pressure on his shoulders.
He's the number one.
Don't you think he's the one that's got the pressure on him? So right, because everyone knows he's the clear cut number one. So he's the one with the pressure on his shoulders. And I said this yesterday, but I feel very confident. The reason he feels confident is because he sees the work all these guys are putting in, including himself. So only one thing follows work, and that's prosperity.
There
period.
You go.
Right. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Balti Raven, if you haven't been already, DK or you're on the wall. We'll add you to the list. Jonathan Hardy, same to you. No one. Coda, LOL. Never forget. Shout out to Coda.
Quiet. For those who were not here during his live, Jimmy thought he muted himself to scream at his dog. Did not mute himself and screamed very loudly right into our ears.
That was really embarrassing, by the way. That was more embarrassing than singing.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
For me, to me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was pretty bad, though. Edwin says, greetings from Play Like a Raven Facebook group. Absolutely. So Edwin runs the Play Like a Raven Facebook group, and we are members of that group. Very active, very knowledgeable. Edwin knows his stuff, no doubt about it. You can tell by his posts, his comments. He's always a big supporter and commenter on all of our stuff as well. So shout out to Edwin. Appreciate the comment.
Go join the group if you haven't, guys.
Yeah, Play Like a Raven. We're members of that group. We're, I think we're going to start becoming a little bit more active than we had as of recently. But yeah, Edwin knows his stuff, and he is the creator and moderator of said group. So, definitely join that. If you're looking for a Facebook group that's constantly talking Ravens, then I would certainly suggest joining them, those guys. So, but yeah, I mean, what else we here to talk about? Oh, Jimbo, the 30 for 30. I am so hyped to hear it. I first heard it. Kevin Byrne, the former director of PR here for the Ravens, who's recently moved on. He was on a local radio show and talked about a dinner, kind of an anniversary dinner of the Ravens' first Super Bowl win all the way back in 2000, and announced at that time, which has later been confirmed, that 30 for 30 is doing an episode on that 2000 Ravens squad, most importantly, and more specifically, that defense in 2000. So I am super hyped to hear about that, because I recently was on YouTube and I watched Hard Knocks from back the following year after the Ravens won the Super Bowl. Hilarious group of dudes. Like the Goose, I mean, that dude deserved a show by himself. And then Shannon Sharp, the clown in the
Isn't it too bad that Saragusa wasn't from this era, because he would have been an incredible content creator.
Dude, his social media would have been off the charts, bro.
Yeah.
The guy was absolutely hilarious. Oh, by the way, James, I was 13 in 2000. I was just old enough.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, look, when the Ravens came into town in 96, I was 6. And, a few years. So, yeah, I mean, I was in love with the Ravens since 96. Like, my uncle was trying to quiz me on this the other day. And I named all the defensive starters for the Ravens on 2. And he's like, "What? You were like 11?" I'm like, "Dude, kids know what they're watching at 11 years old. Like,
they're sponges. They soak it all in, dude. I mean, my son's 8. His memory is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What'd you say? I'm saying my son is 8. His memory is ridiculous.
Oh, right.
So they soak things in. It's incredible. So yeah, I mean, I could not be more excited to see them finally getting the recognition that they deserve.
I have to say one thing, though, that I hope doesn't happen. I hope this documentary doesn't turn into half of it being about Ray Lewis's case.
Yeah, they got to touch on it, but I agree.
That's my only concern. I know, but come on, guys. That season was so much more than that.
Oh, dude, how about
and my concern is
streak?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So my only hope is that it doesn't turn into oh, Ray Lewis, this and that, and all this stuff happened. There's so many other characters. It's not to poo-poo Ray. I want them to glorify how incredible of a player he is and leader he is, not to put a stain on him and just focusing on that, right? Anyway, so that's my only concern. I don't want to turn into that, because I hate it, dude. Sometimes it makes me angry. I'll be in other parts of the country. Like when I used to live in Utah, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big Ravens fan." "Oh, you like murderers, right?" I'm like, dude.
That's the go-to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, first of all, shut up.
Nonsense.
It's all nonsensical, and it's just frustrating. So I don't want that narrative to be carried on,
right,
unnecessarily.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I hope it's not. I loved Brian Billick did a presser right leading up to the Super Bowl that year, and they would not let it go, and he tore into those reporters, man. It was absolutely hilarious, and I hope they show a clip of that during the 30 for 32, because he was hilarious. He was done with the bull, you know what. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Can't wait to see that 30 for 30, but I'm most excited about next week, Jimbo. We finally get to see not just the rookies, we get to see the squad. And look, it's voluntary OTAs, Jimbo, but we all know if you ain't there, it is not a good look. So it's about as involuntary as voluntary can be.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there'll be very short clips that we will overanalyze about guys running around in shorts and t-shirt. But you know what? That's what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what we're here for. Who's there? Who isn't there? Who's running around? How do they look? Who's healthy? Who's not? Can't wait.
Yeah, I want to see what Michael Pierce looks like.
Yeah, is he under 400? You know what I mean? And I don't mean that. I know it sounds funny, but legitimately, he came in at 394 the last year he was here. He came in at that weight. So he looked pretty big sitting in that chair in his presser. And he's just a big dude. But yeah, how does he look? There's a ton of narratives There's a
Yeah.
ton of narrative. So it'll be really interesting as I step on my son's toy. That hurt.
Ouch. Yeah, I can't wait to see. I just read an article about someone who covered the Vikings, and they were talking about how Michael Pierce is very much a problem when he's in there for offenses. He's still an absolute elite run defender, and he can still collapse the pocket. So I'm excited to see that guy back. I'm excited to see, I want to see.
Well, imagine him all training camp, him against
Ben Cleveland,
Linderbaum.
I want to see Ben Cleveland take a big step this year and just take that left guard position away from any competitors like Ben Powers or Tyree Phillips and say, this is my job. I was drafted to do this. I was really born to play offensive line. If there's anyone who was just born to just knock people on their ass, it's Ben Cleveland. So I want to see what he's got. I want to see with some of these young corners that they're bringing in that will likely have big playing time while we wait for the vets to come back. I want to see, Jalen Armour-Davis. Can he get through all of OTAs? Because that's his issue. He's always getting hurt. The guy is a stud, but he's just always hurt. I want to see Demarion Williams. I want to see what he looks like moving around. I want to see Kyle Hamilton and what type of stuff they got this guy doing because he's so versatile. He's so multiple. Got to see what that guy's got. I want to see what the young running back Tyler Beatty looks like out, not just, catching balls out of the backfield, but what's he looking, in the tackles inside, in the A gap. I want to see what he looks like, moving around. There's a lot of intrigue. I could go on and go on. I want to see what these young guys got.
A ton of storylines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how much of the lion's share, how many other people will be practicing kickoffs, punts, how much will we see the transition of Devin Duvernay into taking on more of a wide receiver role. Yeah, there's so many things here to look after. Look, storyline number 1, Glenn, will 8 be in town?
I expect him 100% to be in town. If he's not, we're going to be talking about it on here, and I might be a whining B word about it because that would be the first sign of some dissension between him and the Ravens because this guy's a worker. He loves to work, and he's always been here for OTAs. And so if he doesn't come this year, there would be some talk. That's for sure.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see. With that, Glenn, it's time for some shout-outs, my friend.
Yes, let's do it. McDiamond, appreciate your involvement, although it did seem like you were stirring it up a little bit. I was watching as y'all were commenting back and forth.
My gosh. Look, we're all Ravens fans here. Yolanda, we love you both. Guys, okay?
Yeah, let's keep it fresh. I saw Don C playing what is it called? Mediator, and I appreciate Don for that. He's the man as always. Tanja Bowman, again, like me, hoping and praying it looks like that he's in town, that Lamar's in town. I have Taurus. I think that's what I have Horace. Appreciate. I always see your name in there. I appreciate you. Dalton Caps, appreciate you as well.
Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry. Appreciate you so much.
Shout out.
And your continued support. Troy, appreciate you as well. Always seeing you out. Balti Raven, appreciate you. You're always out here. Amber Alert, always out here. Oh, never misses a show. And I certainly appreciate you. Stackhouse, thanks for coming out and commenting and being involved.
And just all you guys. I mean, I think the really cool thing, Glenn, I think you'll agree with me here, is that every week our average goes up and up. Like, I mean, we're over 200 right now on a Thursday night talking Ravens talking. So we appreciate you guys spreading the word, getting out there. We do this because we love having a community and love talking Ravens with you guys. And so we appreciate all the support, love it all. And we look forward to these every single week.
And I understand that, and we get a lot of really nice messages talking about we wish we could, do this more and believe me, we try and squeeze in shows at every possible moment we can. Just ask our family and how much we're on here, but we would love to do it more. We're going to keep trying to work to make this something we could do as a full-time thing. But we're just not there yet. Shout out to Cakes Mitchell, who's always been there for us and always been a big fan and supporter. He says, assuming we don't sign any additional receivers, Duvernay over or under 700 yards.
You see me, right?
Wow. I tell you what, Jimbo, that's a good number he put that at because as the third pass catcher in Baltimore, it's not guaranteed that you'll get 700 yards. You might be more likely to get 700 yards as the third runner in this offense than you will as the third running back. I mean, the pass catcher, I guess I should say. What's you think it's a slam dunk?
Over. I think it's over, and it's not because it's all going to be the yak, dude. He's going to get those screens, and he's going to make everything he can out of him. He's going to get the short stuff on the outside. He'll get, I think he's going to get easy stuff in the seam up the middle and turn it into something real, because all he's got to do is shake off one little slot receiver, and I think a lot of scenarios, because he's strong, he's physical, he's fearless. Yeah.
Now, just so you know, Jimbo, last year, the third leading pass catcher was Rashad Bateman with 515 yards.
Well, who are you saying? Oh, you're saying between Mark and Rashad?
Bateman. Yeah, they'll be 1 and 2. I think that's a slam dunk. And then the year before, so in last year, 515 was the leader as far as third. And then last year, or the year before, Willie Snead was the third leading pass catcher with just 430 yards. So if that was the case, that would be something we haven't seen since Lamar's been here, is that third pass catcher get over 700 yards. But look, I think he's going to be fantastic in the slot. The only question is, does his incredible ability as a return man impact how often he's on the field as an offensive player? Because they do have other options on offense, and I don't think they want to use any of their other options when it comes to returning, because he's just that good. He's the all-pro. So while they have options there too, I think the gap between him and the next guy as a returner is far greater than the gap is him.
And
as
that's where I think I disagree with you. I think that they'll use him in spots now. I think that his role will start to be more on the offensive end. But so many times it's like, dude, just call it it's a fair catch type scenario, to where I think that he'll be used much more on the offensive side. And then maybe if it's a close
even though he's the all-pro.
Yeah. We've seen it before with other guys. They excel and then they start to transition. Maybe they got to give him the chance to do it. Maybe he can't do it. I doubt. Obviously, I say he's going to go over 700 yards. Maybe his role as an NFL player is to have a career special teamer. I don't see it though. I think this kid gets chances, and every time we've seen Devin Duvernay, like Gus Edwards, makes the most of his chances. I think he goes to the roof.
And like James says in the comments, they could use Beatty. Obviously, Prochet has done at least the punt returning. He's done the punt returning. So, yeah, there's options. They don't have to. But I still think they like to have their best players on the field. And he is by far the best return guy on this team, and might be the very best in all of football. So, but, yeah, shout out to everyone who joined us, all the silent observers. Appreciate you. Absolutely. And we cannot wait to be back breaking some more Ravens news. But until then, take care.
See you.